welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me today. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of where I was going today. I still have the merman planned. I did start sketching him. I have kind of a pre-base on the video started where I started doing the sketch. I don't have it worked up anywhere from there, just a rough sketch. And I kind of, as I was going through and working on it and getting it going, I didn't really have the motivation necessarily to keep working on it at the moment. So I decided to kind of show you guys instead what I do when I need to take a break, when I need to kind of revamp myself and just draw to draw, and where I don't go with any direction. I don't necessarily care if it's muddy or messy or doesn't look the best. I just draw to draw, and I more so do it for me and to kind of clear myself mentally and get myself over that feeling of kind of being burnt out, and which does happen. I quickly noticed within the last week or two of Mermaid that, for one, I already knew after probably the first week that I was feeling kind of burnt out of doing mermaids every day. And especially because when I did go into doing mermaid, I didn't necessarily have a direction. When I did Inktober for 2018, my whole goal was to kind of have some kind of small story behind each illustration, or some kind of scenario or scene that I was creating for each illustration. And granted, not every illustration was like that, but the majority of my illustrations were very close and very similar to that. They were, there was a lot more to them. And when I entered into mermaid, I didn't really have that in mind. I was just I just want to draw mermaids, and that's what I did, and it was great. And I always enjoy doing mermaid. I do, but it definitely kind of quickly had me burnt out a little bit because I felt like the drawings were more so becoming repetitive to me. And not that they were repetitive in general, but just that they, doing the same kind of character design, with it being a mermaid each week or each day even, just kind of got a little, I don't know, not overwhelming, because I wasn't I can't do this, overwhelmed. More so just, it got kind of boring, I guess is the best way to put it, even though I don't feel like that's the correct term either. But you just kind of get burnt out on doing the same thing or something similar over time. And what I like to do after coming out of something like that is either take a break, which is what I did after Inktober and doing the holiday themed stuff, is I kind of gave myself a little break from doing stuff like that. And granted, the break lasted longer than I wanted to, because normally, I would try to have a drawing out each week, but I want to say I went a month or two without putting out a drawing because I didn't have the motivation or even the desire to really sit down and draw. And of course, the itch kind of always comes back because I do love drawing. It's a big passion of mine and something that I love to just sit and do and create. And a lot of times what I love when I'm kind of getting back into figuring out what I'm going to do, figuring out how I'm going to start or approach going back to doing full illustrations, is I like to just draw faces, really. And that goes to where I began. It was a mixture of both those words, I guess. But when I first started drawing pinups, I started with drawing faces, And the faces were not very pretty, but that's where it all began. I began drawing faces, and then quickly, I started adding the upper body, and then started adding hips and legs, and it turned into a full body illustration. But by primarily, I have drawn a lot of faces, and that's where I kind of love to revert back to. And sometimes I'll go and I'll draw inspiration from people who take pictures, and I'll draw them in my own style or do something a little bit different. And that's where I've had like the thought where I've talked to you guys about in the past where, doing a kind of like a drawing or a giveaway in a manner of speaking, where like once a month I would draw a subscriber, and involving you guys a bit more and just in general. But that's kind of what I was showing you with today. Is I took Tombow brush pens, and there was no pencil laying down, there was no base, I just started drawing, and didn't care how messy it came out, didn't care how it looked, if it was a great conceptual design or a super random conceptual design. All I wanted to do was just draw, and that's what I did. And then I purposely went in with a paintbrush and some water, because these are watercolor pens, and decided to give it that cool kind of different watercolor effect, and kind of use that to add shading and just be random and have fun with it. And then went in after that with at first the Kuretake dual tip brush, and then I switched over to the Pentel Pocket brush pen, and inked and experimented and brushed up on my inking a bit more, and just had fun with it. So sometimes when you get a little burnout, you gotta just kind of do you and have fun. And that's what today was kind of about. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you guys have an awesome day, and take it easy. I'll see you in the next video.